السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي ولا رسول بعده سيدنا وحبيبنا وحبيب الله محمد ابن عبد الله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. My respected brothers and sisters, last week we studied ayah number 52 and 53, 52 to 54, in which Sayyidina Eisa alayhi salam was appealing to his Hawariyun, his disciples, for help in the cause of Allah. We studied that when Sayyidina Eisa alayhi salam became conscious, came to know, became aware of, some of the disciples, especially one of them, was reluctant to accept his teaching. He asked all of them, got them all together, and he asked all of them that who will be my helper in the path of Allah. The disciples replied that we are your helpers in the cause of Allah. We believe in Allah and you bear witness, O Isa alayhi salam, that we have surrendered ourselves to Allah's obedience and His worship alone. And then further they said that, O our Lord, we believe in what you have bestowed upon Sayyidina Isa and through him to the others, and we follow the messenger, so write us down among those who bear witness to the truth of the religion of Allah. The glorious Quran, my respected brothers and sisters, addresses that and says that a very few of the children of Israel accepted Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam's message, and a majority of them denied him and rejected his faith. As a matter of fact, make fun of him in the beginning, and then it just kept getting worse after that. Some of them joined the hypocrites, slandering and making vulgar accusations against the chastity of Sayyida Maryam, Virgin Mary, and Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam himself. He appealed for helpers to convey his disciples, those who are his helpers, to convey the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and explain the truth of faith to the others. Brothers and sisters, anyone who with a true message needs help and support and people to truly believe in his message and practice it, defend it, convey it to others, and make sure that it remains unadulterated in its original form. The disciples described themselves as a Muslim in last week Ayat, which means that they unconditionally, Muslims, what's the meaning of Muslimun? Those who unconditionally surrender to the wish and will and legislations of Allah. That is the essence and the prerequisite of the true divine faith. The disciple also asked Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam to bear witness to their surrender and their pledging to be his helpers in the cause of Allah. Dear brothers and sisters, a believer is required to make his covenant directly with the Lord Almighty. Then learn, then understand, and then apply the legislation on himself or herself first. The same applies to the prophets and messengers. Same sequence of things. That they receive the message, they learn it, they apply it on themselves, and then take it to the others. When the messengers convey the message of Almighty Allah, they have discharged their duties and they won't be responsible for their nation's actions and misdeeds. On the other hand, the pledge made between a true believer and the Lord Almighty Allah remains binding until the day of judgment. Last week's ayat also showed us that disciples' statement included a pledge to the Lord that they will obey the messenger the Lord Almighty Allah has sent. That pledge is a commitment to a certain way of life in which is received and guided through the messenger. That is the basic theme of all divine scriptures also, which is repeatedly emphasized on individuals and the communities at large. The disciples' statements, my respected brothers and sisters, in testimony of faith, in Arabic is called ash-shahada. Ash-shahada, the testimony of faith, the testimony of faith, which merits a special consideration when they say, write us among those who bear witness to the truth. The testimony of faith is when a person surrenders himself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and believe in the divine faith is to follow the legislations of Allah in permissible and in prohibited matters to the best of his and her capability. The ayah also teaches us that we cannot give such a testimony unless we make ourselves a practical example of our religion in our lifestyles. Not only to show people off, to show off to people, but genuinely in our private and public lifestyle, in our morals and in our morality. When a true believer applies the rules on himself first, only then he should invite others to the faith, as they may have already seen and experienced the bad side of the person, or the good or bad side of the person, and the positive or negative effects of what he is saying on himself, or they will soon find out. We have to be very careful with that. The disciples of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam prayed to Almighty Allah to write them down among those who bear witness to his religion. They prayed to Almighty Allah to guide, help and strengthen them and make them a great practical example for people to see the religion of Allah in practice. Their prayers, my respected brothers and sisters, need to be understood by everyone who claims to surrender or makes a claim that he has surrendered or she has surrendered to the Lord Almighty and his legislations. That is indeed the meaning of all divine religion, and as understood by the true disciples, which were truly Muslims in their actions. Anyone who gives that testimony verbally but does not make best efforts to follow it by heart and deeds only proves that he is a sinner at heart. Wa'ayadu billah. If we claim to be Jews, Christians, true Christians and true Muslims, but choose a lifestyle contrary to the orders of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent, and then our testimony of faith is also not genuine. We have to consider these fundamental elements of our faith. As a matter of fact, our false testimony deters others from accepting the true faith, and we carry that responsibility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should contemplate about the hypocrisy of those who deter others from coming to the right path. That he is a believer when actually he is not. That is the hypocrisy. The defiers and deniers among the children of Israel slandered Virgin Mary, may Allah's peace and blessing be upon her, the revered mother of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, conspired to harm and even kill the son of Virgin Mary, may Allah's peace be upon her. However, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also planned, وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ. Ayah number 54, third chapter of Quran, says that Allah Almighty also had planned and willed their plan to fail, miserably fail, and rescue and ascend his prophet and messenger, Sayyidina Isa, Jesus, the son of Virgin Mary, to himself with body and soul. That was the plan hinted in that ayah number 3, the third chapter, ayah number 54. Today's ayat, my respected brothers and sisters, ayah number 55 and 56, discusses the will of Allah to ascend. That was part of the plan, which is mentioned in ayah number 54, which says, Ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, wa makar Allah, wallahu khayrul makirin. So, today's ayat discusses the will of Allah to ascend Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam to himself, purifying him and cleansing him from the slandering and conspiracy of the unbelievers, the defiers and deniers, and removing him from that toxic and disgusted environment which was created by the hypocrites and deniers and defiers among the children of Israel, the progeny of Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam. So first we will do the recitation after this prologue, then translation, and then the exegesis of these two ayat. Hopefully we will cover both ayat, otherwise we'll just stop at one and cover the next one next week. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذ قال الله يا عيسى إني متوفيك ورافعك إلي ومطهرك من الذين كفروا وجاعل الذين اتبعوك فوق الذين كفروا إلى يوم القيامة ثم إلي مرجعكم فاحكم بينكم فيما كنتم فيه تختلفون فأما الذين كفروا فأعذبهم عذابا شديدا في الدنيا والآخرة وما لهم من ناصرين. صدق الله العظيم. The translation of these two ayat, and remember when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, O Isa, I will take you away and raise you to myself and purify you of those who disbelieve, and I will make those who follow you superior over those who disbelieve until the day of the resurrection. Then to me is your return, and I will judge between you in matters that you used to dispute among each other. The next ayah, as to those who disbelieve, I will punish them in a severe torment in this life, in this world means, and in the hereafter, and they will find no helpers, وَمَا لَهُم مِّن نَاصِرِينَ, that they will find no helpers and no supporters on day of judgment. The tafsir of the first ayah, where it says, and remember when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, O Isa, I will take you away and raise you to follow to myself and purify you of those who disbelieve, and I will make those who follow you superior to those who disbelieve till the day of judgment. Then to me is your resurrection, to your return, and I will judge between you in matters which you used to dispute. Sayyidina Al-Hassan, my respected brothers and sisters, and Sayyidina Ibn Jurayj said that the Arabic word mutawaffika means to take back, as to take back something in whole, not in portion, not in parts, but all in whole, and raised to heaven. The second meaning is raised to heaven without facing death. Dear brothers and sisters, there are other ayat of the glorious Quran that use same word, tuwaffa, mutawaffa, tuwaffa. in many different forms and meanings, and none of them means the death or dying or something that is happening during the process of death or what happens after death. Sayyidina Ibn Ziyad said that mutawaffika means to take back, recall, and take and also receive, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that Ya Eisa, قال الله Ya Eisa inni mutawaffika, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that oh Isa, I will take you back, means that he's taking him back and he's receiving him also at the same time. He didn't go no place else but to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to heavens. And it does not mean that he died. It is like recalling, my respected brothers and sisters, this is Sayyidina Ibn Ziyad said that it is like recalling an official from, recalling someone from his official duty. And that was the purpose, that was the final thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to give the children of Israel a chance and send them two prophets, not one. Yahya alayhi salam, John the Baptist, and Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, the son of Virgin Mary. Sent two prophets. One they cut in pieces, killed him, and the second they conspired to kill him and crucify him and then kill him. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had also a plan. وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. these 2-3 ayat are about. The next word, my respected brothers and sisters, Arabic word is رَافِعُكَ إِلَيَّ, means that raise you up, or ilayya means towards myself. He didn't go no place else, but he went back to Allah directly alive. He raised him up with his body and soul, and it's rafi'uka ilayya means that I will ascend you to myself. The scholar says that raise you also has other meanings in this word also, such as the deniers wanted to harm, humiliate, and kill Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, astaghfirullah, but Almighty Allah wanted to protect him. Almighty Allah's purpose was to protect Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam and fail the conspiracies against him. And that's why the topic is there, that he was taken alive with body and soul. He wanted to protect him and fail his enemies, show them that you have miserably failed, and elevate his status above that of the deniers. They were looking down at him. Allah was raising Isa alayhi salam to the deniers and defiers and disbelievers among the children of Israel of the time. The third word which we need to understand is Arabic word وَمُطَهِّرُكَ, means to purify you. Kaf, ka is at the sound of ka is at the end of the word, the letter ka, that means to you. وَمُطَهِّرُكَ, to purify you. From what purify from? From all the slanders, all the rumors, all the allegation, all the charges against Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam and his mother, Virgin Maryam, Virgin Mary. May Allah's peace and blessing be upon both of them. And dear brothers and sisters, later on we will briefly study the references to the other ayat. Maybe we'll just take one or two of those ayat which use the word mutawaffika in totally different meaning. Sayyidina Abdullah, and we will do it today inshallah. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu an, in his Tafsir, says about this ayah, says that, and remember when Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, O Isa alayhi salam, I'm gathering you and ascending you to me, and I'm cleansing you and saving you of those who disbelieve in you and my message, and I am setting those who follow your religion above those who disbelieve. Above those who disbelieve. With the strong proofs and arguments and triumphs and examples and parables until the day of judgment. Then I shall make your heart have no attraction. I will make your heart have no attraction for the life of this world. Then to me all of you will return, and I shall judge between you as to what you used to differ in my religion. Tafsir Ibn Abbas of the ayah number 55 of the 3rd chapter. Sayyidina Al-Qurtubi, in his exegesis, we go to different exegesis to get a common message from there, to see that if there is a difference in the opinion, it's not a huge difference. And it's always good to learn more and more and more about Quran and dig deeper to help ourselves first. When Almighty Allah, Tafsir Al-Qurtubi said that when Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "O Isa, I will take you back and ascend you up to me," means that I will raise you to me, purify you of those who disbelieve and the allegations which they made against you, and then make you die after the life I wrote for you to live. The number of years which Allah wrote for Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, he will die at the time, and he will live those days, and that time will come, which is proven from different ahadith, and we'll talk about it, that time will be very close to the end of the time, very close to the day of resurrection. There are authentic ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about before the end of time, Sayyidina Isa will descend to the earth, sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will kill the Dajjal, the Antichrist, who will be working to destroy the religion of Allah. And also Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam being alive in the heavens and returning to this world at the time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will determine. Sayyidina Ibn Jarir al-Tabari and Ad-Dahhak reported from Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam gathered 12 of his closest disciples in a room. Then Messiah entered the room himself, the son of Virgin Mary. And at the time, of course, Shaitan is always there. The Satan is always there. And the Iblis, he went out and he informed his enemies that, look, the son of Mary, son of Virgin Mary, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, has gathered all of his Hawaris, all of his disciples in one room, and he is going to talk. They came over, they found out, they heard it from Shaitan, they came over and tried to break the door of the room. Sayyidina Messiah, Isa alayhi salam, said to when they entered, at that time, he was saying to his disciple, which one of you will go out? This was they were talking about. This is before they entered the room. They were trying to break the door. Which one of you will go out to face the enemies and be with me in the paradise? One man said, I will, O Prophet of Allah. Sayyidina Isa gave him a shirt. This is Tafsir ibn Jarir al-Tabari, and Ad-Dahhak said, he gave him one of his shirts and his turban and also his staff, his stick, his staff, to resemble him. He went out to the deniers and they got him, they crucified him and they killed him. Then Allah ordered angels to robe, to prepare the Messiah, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, in the softest garment sent from the paradise, and cut him of the pleasure of this world, and then he flew alive with body and soul with the angels to his Lord Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tafsir ibn Jarir al-Tabari and al-Dahhak. Sayyidina Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah mentioned from Sayyidina Sa'id ibn Jubayr radiyallahu anh that Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anh has said that as disbeliever planned to kill Sayyidina Isa, they were planning, sitting down, conspiring with each other, the staunchest enemy of true faith, and they were planning to kill Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. Almighty Allah planned to rescue him and raise him to heavens. Allah told him to come out to his 12 to his 12 companions, to his 12 disciples. He did not do. This is the same story as we just talked about in Tafsir ibn Jarir al-Tabari. And he did not do it on his own. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to go to your disciples. There are 12 of them, closest ones. From that part of the room, as the water, and he must be doing the ablution, or he was taking shower or something. So the water was still dripping from his hair. And Allah told him to go out, and when he went out to his disciple, he said to them, one of you will deny me 12 times after he has said that he has believed on me. This is Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam told to his disciples, and they started looking at each other. Then he asked, which one of you will take on my resemblance and be killed in my place and be with me in the paradise, live forever? One of the youngest disciples stood up and said, my respected brothers and sisters, every religion drew and will draw, and is still today continue to draw their strength from the young people, the younger generation. Value them, teach them the right thing, keep them on the right path. They are the assets we are sending forth before us we reach to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one of the youngest disciples stood up and said, I will, O Allah's messenger. Isa alayhi salam told him to sit down. Saw that he is young. He is very young. What he may know. So he told him to sit down. Then he repeated that who will go out and take my resemblance. The same young man stood up, and Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam told him again to sit down. Then he repeated the request yet for the third time, and that same person was the first one to stand up and say, I will. At that point, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam said, yes, then it will be you who will go out and resemble the son of Virgin Mary to his enemies. And he went out. So Allah made him look just like Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, even his face. Though in the other story it is said that he gave the shirt and his staff and his turban. In this, it says that, of course, everything was done by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah, when he saw that this is what Sayyidina Isa is doing, so he made that young man resemble in his facial features, resemble Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. And meanwhile, Almighty Allah raised Isa alayhi salam alive to heavens. Some of the deniers and the disbelievers of the children of Israel came in. By that time, the door was broken. They came in looking for Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam and seized the one who looked like him, that young man, about the same age of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. They crucified and killed him. One of the disciples betrayed Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam 12 times. The story says, after that the disciple split. He caused the split. The one who was planted by Romans, that they will split, and they will be. And he was the one who was working for the Romans, and he betrayed Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, and he already told him 12 times. There were 12 of his disciples, and he worked on each and every one of them and tried to split them in 3 separate groups. So where are those groups? One group of the disciples, out of those 12, said that God was among us, and for as long as he wanted to be with us, and then he ascended to heaven. He went to heaven. They were called the Jacobites. Then the second group of the believers, and another group said that the Son of God, that's what they called him. He said the Son of God was among us as long as he wanted to, and then his Father raised him to heaven. They called themselves Nestorians. There was a third group with the remaining of the disciples. They said the slave servant of Allah, who was also his messenger and prophet, was among us for as long as Allah, his Lord, wished him, and then he raised him to himself. They called themselves, which is the ayah which we studied before, ayah number 53, where he says, وَقَالَ الْحَوَارِيُّونَ نَحْنُ أَنصَارُ اللَّهِ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَاشْهَدْ بِأَنَّا مُسْلِمُونَ. That they are those who called themselves Muslims in the ayah number 52, not 53, I'm sorry, may Allah forgive me, ayah number 53, when they said this, that we are witnessing and you be a witness, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, that we have unconditionally submitted to the wish and will and plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we follow His prohibitions and we follow His permissions in every matter to the best of our capability. Sahih Muslim narrated from Sayyidina Abu Huraira radiyallahu anh that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, by Allah, the son of Virgin Maryam will descend as a just ruler, as a ruler who will establish justice on this land, on earth, on this whole planet. He will break the cross. He will eliminate the pigs. Why eliminate the pigs? Pig is prohibited. In even today, whatever version of Bible you pick up, pig is prohibited. Pork is prohibited. To them in the book of Allah. In the book of Allah. After so many revisions and so many alterations and so many adulterations or whatever, it is still there that it is prohibited. So, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam will come and re-establish the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will eliminate the pigs, the use of pig, the use of pork, and remove the jizya, the religious tax, and there will be so much wealth. Who is saying this? Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That's what we Muslims believe. Because this is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying that there will be so much prosperity that no one will have to strive to work to get the wealth so he can pay his bills. In a sense, the rancor, the mutual hatred and mutual envy will be completely removed from hearts of the people. By Allah will remove in presence of Sayyidina Isa on this planet. When He comes back, when He descends, Allah will remove the hatred and mutual envy from the hearts of all people. People will be invited to receive charity. People will call, announce and say, come, there is this much charity if you need it. And they would not find anybody to receive charity. There will be so much prosperity on this land. This is the narration, this is the tradition of last and final prophet of Allah, Muhammad ibn Abdullah. In another hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad has been reported to have said that by the one who has my soul in his hand, the son of Maryam will recite the talbiyah, the words which you recite before going for Hajj or Umrah. At the ravine of a place close to Makkah is called a Rawha, that he will recite the talbiyah for Hajj and Umrah, and at the ravine called a Rawha, he will not bring a new law but re-establish what people have changed and misled others and misused some of the things. He will re-establish the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which was same religion from Adam alayhi salam to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Sahih Muslim narrated from Sayyidina Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu again that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, how will you be? How will you be? What will you be when the son of Maryam descends among you and your Imam will be from among you? He will lead you by the book of your Almighty Lord and the Sunnah of all Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's prophets, Sunnahs of the Prophet. The disciples, my respected brothers and sisters, the defiers and hypocrites among the Israelites persisted in their disobedience, and despite repeated warnings and admonitions, their collective behavior had become increasingly corrupt and bad to us. Giving them a last chance, Allah the Almighty, He is the most merciful and most beneficent. Allah sent them two great prophets. First, the two great prophets like Sayyidina Yahya alayhi salam, John the Baptist, and Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. Those prophets were given overwhelming proofs. The proof of Sayyidina Yahya was that before he was born, his father was very old, his mother and father, they both were barren, and they made a dua and Allah gave them Yahya alayhi salam. His father was Zacharias, and his mother. And Sayyidina Yahya alayhi salam was born. And before his birth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the glad tidings, the good news to his parents, that you will have a son. His name will be Yahya, John the Baptist, and he will receive the guidance from Allah, and he will be one among the messengers and prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What did they do to him? We'll talk about that. Those prophets were given overwhelming proof by Almighty Allah, and they should have not believed. They should have not rejected them. Nobody should have rejected them, with so much proof was there. But a time comes, my respected brothers and sisters, unfortunately, when people get so lost that nothing works. Nothing works. No matter what is said, nothing works to them, even if it comes down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People need to accept. It's not, Allah does not force people to accept anything. They need to learn and they need to follow. It's their responsibility. Allah's guidance is always there. It's always there. If we don't reach out, Allah is not going to force us to be guided. That is against His nature. It doesn't work that way. That we just sit there, Allah yahdi, then may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide that person, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide them. It's fine. But if the person is so lost that he does not accept anything, even Allah will stop guiding them, those people. And that's exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did. The deniers and hypocrites not only spurned the messages of the prophets, but also brazenly indulge in more atrocious crimes when they saw that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending miracles. The miracle of a birth of Sayyidina Eisa alayhi salam without father, and miracle before that 6 months, and in some narrations 3 years before that, Sayyidina Yahya alayhi salam was born. Of the other, one of their kings, the Roman kings, had Sayyidina Yahya alayhi salam. This is what the deniers and defiers and hypocrites and disbelievers do, my respected brothers and sisters, at the time. That one of their kings had Sayyidina Yahya alayhi salam, John the Baptist, beheaded and cut into pieces from each and every digit of his body, each and every joint, at the behest of his niece, who he wanted to marry. Because when people came to Sayyidina Yahya alayhi salam, and we talk about the story that the king wants to marry his own niece, he said that is not right, and Allah will punish him, and he should stay away from that. So niece found out, and she wanted to be the queen. So he asked, what would make you accept my proposal of marriage? She said that behead Yahya, John the Baptist. I want to see his head in front of me, being cut and put in a plate and gifted it to him. So that's what he did. That's what he did. And Sayyidina Yahya alayhi salam, Masuman Khata, prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was beheaded and cut into pieces at the behest of his niece and their priest and his scribes, the rich, the filthy rich, and the others, those who were in position of authority, controlling the corridors of power or controlling the pulpits. They stayed quiet. They stayed quiet and let the king behead the messenger of Allah. We are seeing those times again. Messengers of Allah are gone, but the people on the right path are being beaten, being killed, being imprisoned, and being tortured by the people in power, and nobody is there to raise their voice. And they also, same people, those scribes, those priests, the educated people, so-called modern Muslims, also existed at that time. That they, when they were conspiring to kill Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, there were very few people, those who cried over it. The rest of them just followed what the Romans wanted to do. Almighty Allah decided to fail their plans. In case of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, fail their plans make their plans fall apart, and recalled his prophet and condemned the enemies of his prophet to perpetual disgrace, my respected brothers and sisters. It should be noted that this whole discourse was about answering the questions of the delegation that came from Najran to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. First 83 ayat of this chapter. These narrations, this whole discourse, my respected brothers and sisters, is repudiating and reforming and correcting the wrongful beliefs of the delegation that came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to discuss that what the Muslims believe about Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. Because most of the people, even now, would say that Muslims, they are against the Christ or against Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. Astaghfirullah, na'udhu billah. The one who does not believe on the messengerhood and prophethood and messengership of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam and the original gospel, original unadulterated gospel to be the book of Allah is not a Muslim. No matter how many times he said that he believes on Muhammad and he believes on Quran sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he believes on God and on one God only, and he denies the prophet of Jews, Musa alayhi salam, was our prophet. Prophet Isa alayhi salam is our prophet, and we don't see any difference between our prophet and any prophet which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent on the face of this earth or anywhere else for that matter. Dear brothers and sisters, three main reasons for the spread of their false beliefs were the delegation that came. They have the false belief that astaghfirullah, na'udhu billah, that Isa alayhi salam is God. Their denial of miraculous birth. If you can't understand the miraculous birth of Isa alayhi salam, if you don't believe on the powers of the Almighty, then at least look at the history. Adam and Eve, they were both born, created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without a father, without a mother, from dirt, from clay. Adam was created from clay. No mother, no father. Why that God? If he is powerful enough to do that, why can't he create Isa alayhi salam? And this is not a matter of dispute. And that's why Quran is teaching us that all of you will come back to us, and we will show you the truth of the matters which you dispute about in this life. We need to live peacefully with each other. Their denial of miraculous birth of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam was the first reason. The second was the miracles which he performed. Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam performed. They thought that this was his power. No. Anything that moves with the iradat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And his ascension to heaven, which is mentioned categorically. They also, if we go back to gospel, and you will find that it mentioned categorically, clearly mentioned that Isa alayhi salam ascended to heavens. By Isa's own power? No. By the will and plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to defy those who wanted to kill him. Allah said, you wanted to kill him and remove him? I'll remove him without you killing him. I would make him look, I will make him better than you, and I'll make your plan fall apart like anything. The Quran confirms the miraculous birth of Jesus and Isa alayhi salam and asserts that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam's fatherless birth is a manifestation of Almighty Allah's omnipotence. This is the basic difference between Islam and Christianity. Other things which some sects among Muslims added, some sects among Christians added, that's apart. But the fundamental difference is right here. Quran confirms the miraculous birth of Jesus, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, and asserts that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam's fatherless birth is a manifestation of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power and his omnipotence. Nobody is more powerful than God. As Allah creates, inna Allah yakhluqu ma yasha, that Allah creates whomsoever he decides to, in the manner he decides to. He chooses to. The glorious Quran makes it clear, my respected brothers and sisters, that Jesus performed all those miracles, all the miracles Quran talks about, and hadith of Rasulullah, traditions of Prophet Muhammad talks about more miracles of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam than any other religious book. The glorious Quran makes it clear that the miracles performed by Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, the son of Virgin Mary, all the miracles in accordance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's orders and His wills, and not from the innate power of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, which he had none. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Kathir al-Damishqi in his Tafsir, in his Exegesis, says the beginning of the ayah means, O Isa, I will take you and raise you to myself while you are resting in peace. While you are resting. Okay, it did not happen that he was dragged and he was put up and nails were nailed and this and that. That he was at peace and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took him away. The Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad, used to recite a dua, my respected brothers and sisters. I'm coming to the point that the word mutawaffika, the people have drawn meaning that Jesus died. Astaghfirullah, na'udhu billah. That here is the dua of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, where he says that all praise are due to Allah who brought us back to life after He had caused us to die in sleep. Sleep is the brother of death. Sleep is the brother of death. And he further said, and to Him, and for Him is our return. Dear brothers and sisters, neither the most original form of Gospels, which is Barnabas, the Gospel of Barnabas, and Gospel of St. Thomas, and they are available, you can see it, Barnes and Noble's bookstore. You can order through Amazon. And none of those original, the very close to the original form of Gospels, with not too much adulteration, are available, nor the Quran. These are the two Gospels, to my knowledge, or lack of knowledge. These are the two closer to the original, closer to the Quran Gospels that are available, and neither those two Gospels nor the Quran make any categorical statement that Jesus was crucified or He was killed. These two Bibles, these two Gospels, and Quran does not make any clear statement that He was crucified, a categorical statement that He was crucified or He was killed. On the other hand, some people, because of the lack of knowledge, unknowingly, and some knowingly, wrongfully interpret this Quranic ayah and say that because the ayah says mutawafiq means that Sayyidina Isa was crucified and died on the cross. Even some of the Muslims believe that. There is a difference, my respected brothers and sisters, and here's a shocking difference right here. There is a difference between the Arabic word tawaffa and other Arabic word al-maut, the death. That is confirmed difference between two completely different meanings, and we don't know the meanings of the language. We don't know the language. We don't do research. We don't do research about anything, but we believe what we heard. The topic, yes, you believe what you hear. You hear if you hear it from Quran, from Quran, and then that is a totally different story. But Quran, I'm giving you these two examples. There are many examples. I want to give two examples of Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word mutawaffika and watawaffa in other ayat also. And we should look at all those ayat and compare their meanings. That's the only thing we need to do. The topic is extremely important, my respected brothers and sisters, and need to be studied in details. There are many references, but we will take time to provide these two references of a specific ayat where Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word mutawafiq and also uses the word al-maut. The first reference is ayah number, chapter 6, chapter Al-An'am, ayah number 60. Allah the Almighty says, and I have to say this in Arabic so we can see the word being used. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو الذي يتوفاكم بالليل وَيَعْلَمُ مَا جَرَحْتُمْ بِالنَّهَارِ ثُمَّ يَبْعَثُكُمْ فِيهِ لِيُقْضَى أَجَلٍ مُسَمًّى ثُمَّ إِلَيْهِ مَرْجِعُكُمْ ثُمَّ يُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. And he takes your soul by night. Please pay attention. He takes your soul by night and knows what you committed by the day. Then he receives you therein, that is for a specific term that to need to be fulfilled. Then to him you will be returned. Then he will inform you about what you used to do. In chapter Az-Zumar, chapter 39, ayah number 42, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allahu, ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim, Allahu yatawaffa al-anfusa hina mawtiha wallati lam tamut fi manamiha fayumsiku allati qada alayha al-maut mawta wa yursilu al-ukhra ila ajalin musamma inna fi dhalika la ayatin liqawmin yatafakkarun. Allah takes the soul at the time of their death, and those that do not die, he takes their soul during their sleep. Then he keeps those for which he has decreased death and releases the other soul for a specified term. Indeed, in that are the signs for a people who think, who ponder upon these examples given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My respected brother and sister, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling about the people, those who go to sleep. Their nafs is taken out. The body is there. Their body is there. Their senses are not. The ruh is there, or is taken out. And some of them, with whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided to end their time of life, that soul does not return to the body. And those who have time is not yet, there are days, years, or seconds left. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent those souls, those spirits back to the body, and they get up from their sleep. This is Allahu yatawaffa al-anfusu hina mawtiha wallati lam tamut fi manamiha. That some of them would not die in their death, they wake up. Their ruh is being given to them. And some of them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when their ruh is taken out, He keeps them because their time of death have come. Same ayah, using the word tuwaffa and al-maut. Sayyidina Abi Hatim rahmatullah recorded that Sayyidina Al-Hasan said that Allah's statement is إِذْ قَالَ اللَّهُ يَا Eisa إِنِّي مُتَوَفِّيكَ is in reference to sleep, as Allah raised Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam while he was resting. In his book Al-Jawab Al-Sahih, Sayyidina Ibn Taymiyyah, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, in second volume, page number 83, says that tawaffa in Arabic language, my respected brothers and sisters, takes three forms. The first form is to take the soul in sleep and return it. Take the soul in sleep and return it, and the person gets up from sleep, wakes up. The second is to take in death, means separation of body and the soul is not returned to the body. And the third, to take the soul and the body all together. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did that in case of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, took his body and soul together while he was still alive. He was still alive. He wanted to humiliate the enemies of the son of Virgin Mary. He wanted to humiliate those people, those deniers, the disbelievers, the defiers. He wanted to show them that وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. They planned and Allah planned, and Allah's plan always works. If He has planned and decided and destined to do something, nobody can stop it. And that's what He did. He humiliated His enemies. Almighty Allah did not want to leave Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam in the hands of the deniers and defiers and hypocrites. He ascended him completely in body and soul to the heaven while he was still alive. He was still alive. The glorious Quran further elaborates and confirms in chapter, and please check this reference, in chapter An-Nisa, ayah number 156 to to ayah number 158. There is a reference to this, and I'll just go to the, we have 5 minutes left. I'll just go to the translation of it. These are the ayat of 4th chapter An-Nisa, ayah number 156 to 158. And it says, and we curse them for their disbelief and their saying against Maryam, Virgin Maryam alayhi salam, a great slander, and for saying indeed that we have killed the Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary, Eisa alayhi salam, the son of Virgin Mary, the messenger of Allah. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying. And they did not kill him, nor crucify him, but another person was made to resemble Isa, the son of Virgin Mary, to them. And indeed, those who differ over it are in clear doubt. They are in clear doubt. They have no knowledge of it except the following, that they are following the assumptions and conjecture. Assumptions and conjecture. And they have no knowledge of it except the following of assumption and conjecture. And they certainly did not kill him. Rather, Allah raised him completely to himself, and Allah is ever exalted in might and wise. In his book Ad-Durr al-Manthur, Sayyidina as-Sayyuti quoted Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, when the hypocrites and denier reached to the door of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam to take him. Almighty Allah, we may go 2 minutes over, my respected brothers and sisters, and I apologize, I don't want to leave this topic undone like this. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said 2 things to comfort Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. Number 1 thing which Allah promised, which is the ayah of today. وَإِذْ قَالَ اللَّهُ يَا إِيسَى إِنِّي مُتَوَفِّيكَ وَرَافِعُكَ إِلَيَّ وَمُطَهِّرُكَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised him that your death will come at its fixed time, but not in the hand of these deniers. Not in the hand of these deniers, but it would be a natural death. Second promise was, I will ascend you alive, and I plan to rescue you against the plan of these conspirators against the religion of truth, the religion of God, and of these evil people. Dear brothers and sisters, in this ayah, number 55, today's ayah looks like we can only do 1 ayah. Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam is also promised, is promised 5 things. Those are the 2 things which Allah directly told to Isa alayhi salam. Quran here talks about 5 things, and which one of the promises were met, and which of the promises are waiting to happen. Waiting to happen. Number 1, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, this is what this ayah is telling us. وَإِذْ قَالَ اللَّهُ يَا إِيسَى. O Isa, your death will not come in the hands of your deniers by killing. That promise, my respected brothers and sisters, was fulfilled. Allah did not let his messenger, his prophet, his miracle, his word, his spirit, the son of Virgin Mary, be humiliated by these evil people. He saved them. They couldn't kill him. They couldn't crucify him. The highly authentic ahadith transmitted that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send Isa alayhi salam down again. He is alive. He is in heavens. He will come down again onto the earth. His natural death will be at the appointed time, closer to the day of resurrection. Number 2, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Sayyidina Isa in the same ayah number 3rd chapter, ayah number 55, O Isa, inni mutahhiruka, that I will purify you and free you from all these false accusations and slander brought by your enemies and my enemies. That promise was fulfilled when the glorious Quran sent last and when the glorious Quran and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi in glorious Quran and in the traditions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad, the last and final prophet and messenger, refuted all false accusations of defiers and deniers and hypocrites, which we will study in the next 2 or 3 ayat, inshallah. The fourth promise, my respected brothers and sisters, is that Allah promised Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam again in this ayah and says, وَجَعَلُوا الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, that I will place, O Isa, those who believe on you, those who believe on you being the prophet and messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being his word, being his spirit, being the miracle of fatherless birth, being the son of Virgin Mary, that I will promise them and I will place those who follow you above those who disbelieve, who disbelieve in you. Those who disbelieve on Isa alayhi salam will be taken over by those who believe on Isa alayhi salam. That means that the true followers will overcome one day, inshallah, those who deny and oppose him and establish the truth of the true faith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The faith of Isa alayhi salam, the faith of Moses alayhi salam, the Sahib of Torah and Sahib of Injil and Sahib of Quran, Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The fifth promise, my respected brothers and sisters, is that thumma, again in the same ayah, thumma ilayya marji'ukum fahkum bainakum fima kuntum fihi takhtalifun. Don't fight here with each other. Don't go against on somebody's throat because his beliefs were different than yours. Then to me is your return, whereupon I shall judge between you, which means that on the day of judgment, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give his decision about the conflicts of this earth in faith. The believers among the children of Israel were few. There were few, very few believers among the children of Israel. They believed, they helped, they supported, and the Sayyidina Isa, the son of Virgin Mary. While the deniers, defiers, and the hypocrites among the children of Israel are the only people in the world who say that Sayyidina Isa, that Isa was crucified. We crucified him. We killed him and we buried him. And he would never return. He never returned before, or he will never return in the future. Those are the only people saying it. That all is a smoke screen, my respected brothers and sisters, created by the enemies of Sayyidina Isa, Jesus, the son of Virgin Mary, and to cover their own wrongdoing and the denial of their own and their ancestors' faithless, continuous defiance and killing of messengers and prophets of Allah, and altering and changing his command to suit what they used to do. This is all about that. And we need to understand that the Muslim belief is that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam is alive. He will come back. He will establish the truth. He will re-establish the religion. He will re-establish the peace. He will re-establish the justice on this earth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to empower him to achieve those goals. أقول قولي هذا واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. We'll make dua, inshallah. My respected brothers and sisters, we need to, as we believe on everything which we talked about today, we also need to believe the last part of that ayah number 55, where it says, then to me is your return, whereupon I shall judge between you. Means that on the day of judgment, Almighty Allah will give his decision about the conflict in faith which we have on this world. Let's not go after each other's neck. And lakum dinukum waliya deen has been taught by Quran, and we believe on it and we should work on it. Just believing on it and not working on it does not help. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر وقنا عذاب جهنم وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار. برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك إيمانا كاملا ويقينا صادقا ورزقا واسعا وقلبا خاشيا ولسانا ذاكرا وحلالا طيبا وتوبة نسوها وتوبة قبل الموت وراحة عند الموت والمغفرة عند الحساب والفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. وصلى الله تعالى على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. والفاتحة. Thank you for joining us today. Inshallah, share and invite others as you see appropriate, and hope to see you inshallah same place, same time, ayat number 36 and 37. Wassalamullahi alaikum wa rahmatuhu wa barakatuh. Thank you.